I like to just get myself in the headspace of like a run through of my slides and my presentation. I want to be on if I need to answer any questions from people who are wanting to attend the event and have questions. But then I'll kind of like block out at least the hour before where I'm just kind of honestly relaxing. Like I'll eat my lunch, watch a TV episode, drink my coffee, close my door, just get myself in that headspace of being really excited to be here with my audience. Hello and welcome to episode 4 of the Master the Media podcast. I'm Amy Gorin and I am your host, and I'm so excited to be here with you today. So today we are going to be talking about what happens if you're not an extrovert and you want to be an entrepreneur. Before we dive into that, I just want to announce that we are having some free upcoming masterclasses June 11th and June 12th. And we're going to be talking about how to earn $50,000 in brand partnerships in 6 months. June 11th is going to be for dietitians and healthcare professionals. June 12th is going to be for physicians and advanced care practitioners. So nurse practitioners, physicians associates, nurses. And you can grab your free spot by going to masterthemedia.co/masterclass. So I'm excited to see you there. So I am an introvert. And this is something a lot of people are often surprised by. I consider myself to be an extroverted introvert, meaning I need a lot of recharge time. It's funny because my husband actually recently said to me that he was surprised by how much recharge time I need compared to him. So I think it's often a misconception in the entrepreneurial world that, oh, you can't succeed if you're not an extrovert. You can't succeed if you don't love being around people 24/7. And the reality is there are a lot of entrepreneurs who are introverts. Sometimes we talk about it, sometimes we don't. But this episode is really for, whether you're listening and you're an introvert or an extrovert, but really for those introverts, I want you to know that you're not alone and you absolutely can succeed as an entrepreneur, as an introvert. Oh, let's talk about it. So the idea for this episode came to me when I was coaching my students earlier this week, and we were talking about, for my students specifically, a lot of them are dietitians and other healthcare professionals. And they came to Master the Media because they want to grow beyond seeing their private practice or clinical clients and patients, and they want to do other things that don't necessarily involve being one-on-one with patients all the time. And so we were talking about, how to kind of balance that whole burnout that you often can get with seeing patients one-to-one, where you're, say if you're a dietitian and you're spending an hour with each patient. And, sometimes, to be honest, it's not that different than a therapy session where, yes, you're giving advice on what to eat and things like that. But a lot of times things can get really emotional. And so you wear that hat of being this empathetic ear, and it's really difficult not to take that on. Myself, I do take on a lot as kind of like that empath kind of person. So it's when I know when I was trying to see patients one-to-one, and I didn't do it for very long. My first couple of years as a dietitian, I kept a very small handful of patients. It was always less than 5, just to kind of have my hand in it. But I found it very rewarding and very draining, both at the same time. And what I mean by that is, obviously, I love helping people. I wouldn't have become a dietitian if I didn't want to help people. But I just found it to be very emotional, kind of hearing, and it's like you're, as a health professional, whether you're coaching somebody going through something or you're helping them, figure out the health aspects, like you can't be a really good healthcare professional and not listen to some of their personal stuff. And I found that, that part plus all of the research that I would spend kind of, I didn't want to give any advice to anyone that wasn't fully vetted and fully researched. And so I'd spend a lot of time, making sure, like, is this meal plan that I'm giving this client, is it really the best for them? Let's think about their other factors. And so the amount of time that I was spending, not just one-on-one with that patient, but also doing back-end research and then the back-end documentation, it just honestly took a lot out of me. And I have students in Master the Media who, some of them come into Master the Media, they're seeing 40 hours of patients a week or 30 hours. And so, oops, my earring just fell out. And so a lot of times their goals coming into Master the Media is not only to get featured in the media, work with brand partnerships, but also to rebalance their time where they're not getting drained by the way that they're spending it. And so this is something where I was talking with my students in this week's coaching call that I do with them about kind of how to balance this feeling if you are an introvert, and obviously there's different levels of being an introvert, how you balance kind of spending time with people, spending time recharging, spending time alone. And I know for me, this might look similar or different to how you approach your time, but I wanted to walk you through what I've learned over the years really works for me as an introvert who by default spends a lot of time with people, but also gets a lot of recharge time. There's a few things that, and I've experimented over the years. There's a few things that I found really help me perform at my best. So one is, I time block my calendar. And if I have anything important coming up, like a presentation, and it could be a speaking engagement for a brand, it could be literally a masterclass that I'm hosting for Master the Media, but I'll block out, say I'm hosting the masterclass at 1 p.m. Eastern time, which is the time of our next masterclass. I'll block out that whole morning and afternoon and the night before, because I need that time to kind of wrap my head around what I'm going to be presenting, and also to pre-charge myself and then recharge myself. And so kind of what my routine looks like. So the day before I do anything big presentation wise where I'm speaking and I really need to be on and give it my all, I never want to show up to something where I'm feeling drained and you kind of get that energy and it's not the best. And that's never something that I want to relay to my audience. So the night before, again, I'm just going to use a masterclass as an example. The night, and it's funny because I actually saw it like years ago. I saw Forleo actually posted on Instagram like her pre-speaking routine, and it was along the lines of like she gets a hotel room to herself. She's totally there by herself, kind of just like charging herself up. And honestly, my routine is not that different. And I was like, okay, good. Like other successful entrepreneurs are doing this. And so the night before, let's just use the masterclass again as an example. So I see a virtual Reiki practitioner. So if you don't know what Reiki is, it's a healing kind of energy therapy. And so what happens is I'll meet with this person. It's virtual. I meet with her every 2 weeks, but we'll plan extra sessions like before I have something big coming up. And it's kind of like we do half hour of kind of like talk therapy. So she's like coaching, just listening, coaching, and then half hour of virtual energy work. And and this might sound a little out there if you've never done any of this, but, acupuncture is kind of in the same bubble of energy work as Reiki is. And that's something I also do. But a lot of times when I have virtual Reiki done, there might be some like stuck energy in my body and I can kind of like get it moving again, or I can kind of just like clear my mind, or if I've taken on other people's emotions, I kind of just like let that go. And so that sets me, I usually do that at night, like 5 o'clock or so, the night before a presentation. That kind of just like sets the intention of like having that good energy, clearing my mind. And then I'll kind of like just take that night to recharge myself, like watch a TV episode with my husband, snuggle with my cats, that kind of thing. And then the next day, I like to just get myself in the headspace of like, I'll do a run through of my slides and my presentation. Kind of, I want to be on if I need to answer any questions from people who are wanting to attend the event and have questions. But then I'll kind of like block out, at least the hour before where I'm just kind of honestly relaxing. Like I'll eat my lunch, watch a TV episode, drink my coffee, close my door, just get myself in that headspace of being really excited to be here with my audience. And then I set aside that time after because there's always a lot of follow-up questions, helping my team get the replay up on YouTube, things like that, but also just like making sure I'm available and in a good energy to answer any questions that come through from potential clients. And so anyway, that's kind of my routine when I have a big um, speaking engagement. When it's in person, it is slightly different. And I love speaking in person. It is different though. It's a different kind of energy where you're even more on. So, even let's just say like, I've done like the TV episode where I go on TV. It's literally 3 minutes of airtime, sometimes like a max of 5 minutes, and then it's over. But the day itself is really, really intense. I'll wake up at like 6 a.m., have my hair and makeup done. That takes a couple of hours, like, steam my outfit, get all dressed, drive to the TV station, wait, have the pre-conversation with the producer, get all mic'd up, and then I'm on camera for those 3 minutes where I'm really, really on, and the adrenaline rush is really, really there and really awesome. And then it's over. And then you're kind of like, okay, I have to come back down to earth. And so that's always an adjustment. When I do speaking engagements, usually there's kind of some kind of event after, um, where I'm talking with the audience. So like one of the most recent speaking engagements I did, I was on stage, spoke by myself for about 10 minutes, was on a panel, and then there was a reception where I spoke, kind of mingled, spoke with the audience, filmed some B-roll, some video for the brand that I was there on behalf of. And that's also a day where like it starts really early. There's hair and makeup. There's like, me kind of going through my slides in my head, having that kind of like, here's my time to myself to do this. And then, always fly in the night before at the very least, usually at least a day before. And then I'm really on while I'm talking to people after the event. And then I'm not going to say I crash because I plan this all out, but then I plan at least like the next day just to take it really easy, reset myself, do some self-care. So that's kind of how my mode is. And it's changed over the years because, I've learned a lot. So there's a conference that I go to every year called, it's from the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, called the Food and Nutrition Conference and Expo. And let's just say like many years ago, I'd go just to spend the whole time networking, literally like have 10 to 20 meetings a day with brands. I'd walk around on the expo floor introducing myself to them, and I'd have a roommate. And so I'd go from like being on literally all day. Usually there was an evening event. Sometimes I'd be going to 3 evening events where I'm networking, talking to brands, and then I'd come back to my hotel room and I'd have a roommate and we could decompress about our days. And while that was a really fun experience, it was also really intense people wise. And so I would always plan like, okay, when I get home, I need a week to recharge. Like I need to not have any dinner dates with friends. I need to just like have a lot of quiet time to myself, not plan a lot of meetings, just like do things that are purely quiet tasks, like behind the scenes tasks. And then when I started running Master the Media, I came to realize like, hey, maybe I'd have more energy if I had a room to myself. And that's when that was the pivot where I wasn't, I was networking with brands, of course, but I was spending the bulk of my time at this conference planning and running my own event for Master the Media. So making sure all of that was smoothly running as staff. And I was like, I really need my recharge time. And so that's something where I realized when I stayed alone in a hotel room, I was able to have more recharge. I was able to recharge a lot more quickly. It wouldn't take me a full week afterward. And I also think it's funny because a lot of times I see colleagues come to these conferences with their spouses, with their children, which, it's great. Like, especially if you're not an introvert and that like is what you need. But I've always told my husband, like, honestly, I need to go to this alone because, it's not that I don't want to see him at night, but I like literally save all of my energy for the people who I'm nurturing at these events. And I need that solo recharge time at night. And I think it's okay to acknowledge what you need and what you want to your partner, to the people in your life, because that's the only way sometimes you're going to get what you need. And only you know specifically what you need. And a lot of times it's through trial and error. And it's like, this is something I've been thinking a lot about this week as I've been planning this episode, because, and it's not something that's just in my professional life. It's also my personal life where, on the weekends, we like to, see friends, we love to entertain, but I really try to not have like more than one big thing on a weekend. So like if we're having friends over on a Saturday, I want Sunday just to kind of like relax, stay in my pajamas, not even put a bra on, just like not see anyone except for my husband and my cats. And I think that's just like something where honestly, we don't talk about it enough. We don't normalize it enough because a lot of times society makes us feel like we have to just go, go, go and do everything and be everything to everyone. But you can't be unless you put yourself first. Like yesterday, I was just like, I'm pregnant. I don't have stamina. Even like staying in the shower, like I have a lot of hair. It takes a long time to like wash and brush and do all the things. And like, I just really don't want to stand in the shower and wash my hair today. And so I canceled my afternoon meetings, went to the hair salon, had someone else wash my hair and straighten it for me. And it was glorious. I was like, I just need somebody to do something for me that I not have to do myself today. And I think realizing like just how, peopled out, burnt out I was feeling yesterday, just putting me first. And a lot of times that's, you know, again, it's through trial and error, but like figuring out what is your happy medium of, I want to spend this many hours on patient care a week. I want to spend this many hours on media and brand work, which really sometimes you can do without a lot of people interaction. Like if you're making recipes in your kitchen for a brand, it's just you and your food and your like food processor. Or if you're writing, it's just you and your computer. And so you can kind of figure out that happy medium of like what lights you up, what fills you up, what fills your cup up when you're doing all of that. That's what I want to leave you with today is, and whether you're, even for the extroverts who are listening to this, but really, really, really for the introverts, because, and I say I'm an extroverted introvert, you might be like a totally, totally introverted introvert, and that's okay. But just figure out what, like, start thinking, start taking notes on what you need to recharge, what kind of tasks and responsibilities make you feel like you need more recharge time than others, and try and balance out your week. And and it takes time to like redo the schedule, but if you're really burnt out seeing 20 hours of patients a week, think about cutting that back, spending more time on something that really fills you up more. Like maybe it's doing media work, maybe it's writing freelance articles, maybe it's consulting, doing research for a brand, and make that your goal, your intention to at least begin to restructure your time, like put the feelers out there. It's going to, none of this happens overnight, but if you make it your intention where I want this many hours a week of non-people contact and I want to replace that with this many hours a week of work that fills me up in a different way, like writing, then make that your intention. And at least we can start working on that together to make that your new reality. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. And as a reminder, if you want to join our upcoming masterclasses on how to earn $50,000 in brand partnerships in 6 months, go to masterthemedia.co/masterclass.